Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Juan. I'm a yarn addict, hence the name Juan the Yarn Addict. And I want to thank each and every one of you guys for stopping by to check out my video today. This is a yarn and crochet channel where we talk about all things yarn and all things crochet. So if that interests you, please sit back and watch this video because today I offer you a tutorial. As the title of this video suggests, this is a tutorial for learning how to join solid granny squares. So I posted a video just 24 or 48 hours ago, I can't remember at this point, but I released a tutorial teaching you guys how to make solid granny squares. And since I released that video, many of you guys have reached out to me asking me, Juan, how do we join these granny squares you taught us how to make? So that brought on this tutorial. And so this tutorial was born and it's for you guys. And please, without further ado, enjoy the tutorial. Hi friends, so here is a closer look at my Scrapgan tiles blanket. This is a project that I completed last year. It is composed of 195 tiles. It is 13 tiles wide by 15 tiles deep, and it's larger than a king-size bed. It's pretty huge. I really didn't realize how big the project was until I pieced everything together, so lesson learned. I didn't need to go 195, but I did, and so I don't regret it. It's been a lot of fun. But many of you guys have been asking me, Juan, how did you connect your tiles together? So I connected these together using a single crochet in the colorway black from Red Heart Super Saver, and then along the edges here I did one row of double crochet. So that's pretty much what this is, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So without further ado, let me just move this away and bring some extras that I have here, and I'm going to show you how I join these together. So I'll be right back in 1 second. Okay, so here we are with 4 extra tiles here that I had laying around. I selected these because they are different, and what I mean by that is that this particular square was made using Loops and Threads variegated yarn. These two were made using Mainstays yarn from Walmart, and this was made using Big Twist from Joann's. Okay, so I'm using these 4 because I want to show you that as long as you stay within the same weight class, they'll work up together. It's going to be fine. You'll see slight variances in size, but that's okay. You see how this one's slightly larger? That's fine. We're going to make it work. As long as your stitch count across is the same, you're going to be fine. And if you followed my tutorial to a T, you're going to have the same number of stitches around every square. So you're going to be perfectly fine. Now, I joined my project from last year in black. Black does not show up well on tutorials, so we're going to go ahead and use gray, or I'm sorry, charcoal. So it's dark, but not black. You can still kind of see it when I zoom in, which this comes up a lot better than black. So that's kind of what we're going to be using for this tutorial. And man, is that close. Let me back that up just a little bit. Okay, I got excited there. Okay, so first thing is first, we need to make sure that we are looking at the tiles all facing us in the same direction. So one of the ways that I'm able to tell what side is which is when I look at the tile, I look at the tops, the edges here. If the edges are facing me, then obviously I'm looking at the top. If they're facing away, see how it's curved away, then I'm looking at the bottom. Okay, and another way I'm able to tell is there's this detail here. On every row, you can kind of see it here. See that? This is how you're able to tell the backs, whereas the front, it's very subtle in comparison. Actually, I can do a side by side. So this is the front, this is the back. See, there's a subtle difference between this side and this side. So this little lip that you're seeing here is a clear indication that you're looking at the back. Okay? So just make sure that all the fronts are facing. Now with variegated yarns, it is a little more difficult to tell. You can't really see it. I mean, you can, but you can't. That's why I would rely on looking at the edges. So again, if they're facing you, then you're looking at the top. If it's curved away from you, then you're looking at the bottom. Okay? So I've arranged these in a way that I'm going to connect them. The first thing that we need to do, though, is we need to use stitch markers. Now, you don't have to use these. I'm using this for our beginners who are watching us. So we are beginner friendly here as well. So we're going to go ahead and place stitch markers in the corners of our work. Yes, I have pink stitch markers. It came in a kit. It came in a kit, guys. Oh, and another thing too, I should mention this. So you see how they're faced up? Now when I'm joining them, I fold it like this so that the outsides are faced, like the faced ups are like sandwiched on the outside. See how it's like curved like this? So again, like this is the front, this is the front, and then we pinch here so that the fronts are still on the outside. Okay? I could have explained that better 10 different ways, but you get my gist. So this one here is the front, this is the front. So we're going to pinch the edges here like this and place stitch markers in the corners here in the chain spaces. Just like that. Okay, and when we open them, this is kind of what we're looking at. Okay, so once we've placed stitch markers along here, let me back this up a little bit. There we go. So once we've done that, now we have to connect this, and these down here. So we'll start down here. So let's go ahead and connect these. Now I will tell you, when I did my project last year, I did not use stitch markers. I've learned that stitch markers, it's a thing. People actually do use them, and I have to be here for them people too. So, all right. And finally, we're going to connect this here. So I'm going to insert the stitch marker in the corner there, bring it to that corner. We have all the stitch markers on this project. And then do the other side. Okay, now let me zoom in so you can get a nice close-up of the situation. Okay, do you see how I have that? So everything is connected here. It's connected here, there, there, and there. Okay, let's zoom back out a little bit. Okay, so now all four sides have the fronts facing us. The back is all on the same side as well. Okay, so let's turn this back over. And now what we need to do is we need to sandwich it long ways like this. Okay, and the first thing that we need to do is we're going to take off this stitch marker right here. Let me zoom in. Okay, so we're going to take this stitch marker off. We just put it on there to hold everything together. Now, I would recommend that you use the same size hook for your edging and everything that you use to make your squares with. It should all be the same, okay? So what we need to do is create a slip knot. just like that. And then we're going to come here to the corner. I'm going to insert my hook into the chain space, into the chain space. I'm going to drop a loop, I'm going to yarn over, and go through both, just like that. Okay? Now here, this is where it gets a little tedious, and you want to make sure that everything matches. So when you're looking at the tops here, you just line everything up. I go from the chain space right into these sets of stitches right here. And then you just want to make sure that you're able to see that all of your stitches line up. Just like that, okay? So let's come back over here. We're going to insert the tip of our crochet hook into the first set of stitches. We're just going to draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through two. And you're literally just joining them together like so, like that. And you want to make sure that you're crocheting on the top, not on the side. You want to make sure you stay on the top so that when you go to separate your squares, you have a nice little ledge that your tiles sit in. Of course, you can use a darning needle and sew your squares, but this is so much faster, and this ledge is intentional. It can tend to look like a stained glass window, which has a really nice effect. So I'm just going to stay with you guys here while I crochet across this tile. I'm going nice and slow to make sure I don't miss any stitches. And every now and then I like to look at the back here just to make sure that everything looks nice and neat. You want to make sure that you monitor your work. If anything, like your tension changes, it gets too tight or too loose, you just want to make sure that you draw that back and you recrochet it just to make sure that it's neat, because after all, you will be seeing the top of this a lot. You're not hiding it, so it's just as important as the rest of your project. So we're almost at the corner here. Okay, so as we approach the corner, what I'm going to do is take away the pink stitch marker. With just a few stitches left, I'm not worried about it falling out of place. We're still right on target here. Okay, and so now we've done everything. All the stitches are represented upstairs. I refer to everything like an apartment complex. So, yep, all the stitches upstairs are present. And then now what we need to do is just do one single crochet in the chain space. Okay. And you see these two stitch markers here, the orange and the red. We're going to leave them, and we're going to hop right over into the next square. And we're going to just go into that chain space on both sides and perform a single crochet, just like that. And once we've secured that single crochet, we can go ahead and remove that stitch marker. And then go into your first set of stitches and do a single crochet just like that. And I always found that if you take your time and you make sure that you're matching as you're doing it, you won't have to worry about one side being shorter than the other. You're getting all of your stitches. Now, after so many tiles, you'll find that you won't need the stitch markers because everything just naturally falls into place. You know where everything is stitch-wise. just like that. And in my tutorial for my solid granny squares, you noticed that when I sewed in my ends, I didn't sew my ends in across this way, I went down. And the reason why I did that was because you have to be able to access all of the stitches going across here. So it just makes it easier to join. Okay, so now we're approaching the end. I'm going to go ahead and take this stitch marker away. And I'm going to go ahead and join, and then the chain space, just like that. And so here I am at the end. This right here was the end of this particular round. So I just had to, we're going to have another experience with that, but I just literally went around the knot. And I'll explain that in a minute. I went around the knot and continued on. So here what I do is I chain 2, and then I cut off a nice tail, and I pull out my hook. And like always, the chain 2 creates a double knot that makes it impossible to come out. So I pinch above my 2 chains, and then I slide down, and I pull this working yarn, and I pull this down in the opposite direction, and it creates this double knot here. And of course, we're going to have to sew that in. So let me back this up. So there's one side, just like that. Okay. So now after that side is done, we're going to take this and we're going to fold it down this way. Okay. And then we're going to start over here. And like we did in the beginning, we're going to create a slip knot on our crochet hook, just like this. And then from here, we're going to go into the chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through both of those loops. Once that's done, we can take out the stitch marker. And now we're going to go into the first stitch of each square here. And into the second one. Just like this. Nice and slow. You just want to make sure you're matching as you go. Very easy. And again, as I mentioned before, just be mindful of your tension. And it's going to look stunning. Okay, so here we are at a knot space. So this right here is a knot from that square. I'm just going to insert my hook like literally around the knot. So there's that one. And then here is actually where the knot is. So you can't go inside the knot. What I do is I go underneath it. Just like that. And then I go into the next one and then into the next one, just like that. So you're not really missing any stitches. You're just going under instead of through. That way every stitch is represented with a ledge. And so we're approaching the middle here. Just making sure we're lined up. Okay, so now that we're here, I'm going to go ahead and take out this red stitch marker. And I'm going to take out this orange stitch marker. And now, looking at my work, I have one stitch left before the chain space. It's this one here and this one here. So I'm going to go through both of those, just like that. Drop a loop, yarn over, and go through both. Now I'm going to go into the chain space, do a single crochet, and then I'm going to hop over here, keeping my tension exactly the same, Don't go tighter, just keep it the same, and then hop over into this chain space, drop a loop, yarn over, and go through both. Just like that. Easy peasy. And you want to continue going through all of your stitches, giving your stitches upstairs neighbors. They're moving in upstairs, guys. Just like that. It can get tedious, but as long as you're keeping the same routine, you're fine. So here we are at another knot. And like I said, you're not going to go through it because that's a double knot there. So you're going to go underneath. And then you're going to grab that stitch from the other side without skipping. And then everything should continue to match. See, just like that. Just checking my work. Okay, so now that I'm approaching the end here, I'm going to go ahead and take out the pink stitch marker and just looking at the top, making sure that we're pretty much even, and we are. Okay, perfect. You can just eyeball the lineup of the stitches. Okay, so we're going through both sets, nice and easy. Okay. All right, so there is that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. We're going to cut off a tail. We're going to pull our crochet hook off of our project. We're going to gently pinch above our 2 chains. We're going to pull on the working yarn and pull down at the same time. And it creates this double knot. And so far we have 2 ends. Now, before I go any further, and this is a good practice to get into, and I do sometimes struggle with this myself, we're going to sew in the ends before we move on. But I just want to show you what this looks like. So it's nice and straight. Now, mind you, these 4 tiles, I mean, if you're doing a whole project, it's literally one little section of a huge section. So as long as all of your stitches are represented and you're crocheting along the top, all of this will fall into place. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew in our ends very quickly. So with the right side facing us, yarn over the eye of the needle, insert through the top. And what I do, I'm not going through the top anymore. So I'm just going to split fibers along the top here, just making 2 passes. Again, I have that double knot. It's not going anywhere. So I go through some stitches like that, and then I make 1 return pass. Just like that. And then I trim. Just like that. I'm going to do this other one very quickly. Because I'm making such a big habit of sewing in as I go, it's actually not as overwhelming as it used to be when I just procrastinated and I'm like, oh, I'll wait to sew everything in later. It's no big deal. It won't take me long. Well, it really does take a long time if you wait until the very end. Just when you think you're done, you have all that work left to do. So if you knock it out as you go, when you're done, you're done. There we go. Then we're going to go back and do a return pass. just like that. Okay. So there we are, my friends. We're all good, and I'm just going to sew this. I mean, not sew. I'm going to trim that off and trim that off. Okay. So we've attached 4 squares. Now you can repeat this in sections of 4 for as big as you want your project to be. I would highly recommend that if you're going to join squares, just do them 4 at a time like this. And then as you get more and more sets of 4, join those 2 together, and then those 2 together. And that's how your project grows. So let's just imagine that all of our squares are connected, okay? And our project is officially done. You definitely don't want your edges looking like this. So what I do is I do a round of double crochets around the border, because let's be honest, 1 row of single crochets just isn't going to cut it for a blanket. Not when you're doing something this significant. I mean, you have this ledge that sticks up like this, so it actually looks bigger than just a single crochet. So what I do is I just do a double crochet around the border here, and it actually looks quite nice. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a slip knot on my hook, like so, like that. And we're going to go into, you can go into any chain space corner. It's fine. So we're going to go in, drop a loop, yarn over, and go through both. And then chain 1. And then we're going to go right into that little loop right here, because this stitch needs an upstairs neighbor. So we're just going to do that, and we're going to do a double crochet in every stitch of our border, just like this. So I'm going to go ahead and go down the row of my project here, and I will meet you guys once I get to this corner, okay? Just give me 1 second to get there. Okay, friends, so here I am at the corner. Well, I'm approaching the corner. I have this stitch here, and then here I am at the corner. So in every corner, we're going to chain 2. I'm sorry, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets back into that corner. Just like that. And then, like it was when we made our squares, we're going to have to pull those 2 stitches back to reveal the loop there, because this first stitch needs an upstairs neighbor. So that's where we go to insert our stitch, just like that. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet in every one of these stitches here, giving everybody all the upstairs neighbors. But I wanted to show you something when we get to here. Okay, so I'm going to continue here, and I'm going to stop and replay right here, okay? I'll be right back in 2 seconds. Okay, friends. So here I am at a corner, but, along the work, okay? So like this corner where it received 2 double crochets, these corners also need to receive 2 double crochets. So 1, 2, and then we go right into the next square here. No, like we don't chain or anything. We go double crochet, and then double crochet, double crochet. And then we continue on, but before we do that, we need to pull those 2 over to reveal that loop, because this stitch here needs an upstairs neighbor. Otherwise, your work will not be correct. Your stitch counts will be off. So we're just going to go ahead, if I can grab the yarn here. There we go. We're going to go ahead and continue on with our work, and I'll see you at the corner. Okay, so here we are at another corner, and like the other corners, we're going to go right in with 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, just like that. And then we're going to pull these 2 double crochets back to reveal that loop. Now, every time you do that, the loop may not be the same size. Does not matter. You need to make sure that a stitch goes in there because we need neighbors. And then we're just going to continue on with our work. Now, let me pull this back and show you where I'm at. So far, this is kind of where we're at, okay? So we have this and we have this and all the things, okay? Couple things to take note of. You're going to come across things like this, where you see a separation. Just know that everything is still held together, okay? It's not as evident over here, okay? So we've done here, we went around, we came up here, and this is where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this, and I'm going to come and meet you guys when I get to this point right here, okay? So I will be back in just a second. Okay, so here I am at the end of the project here. So I went into all the stitches. The only thing I have left to do is the 2 double crochets, the chain 2, and the 1 double crochet, because this situation here counts as a double crochet. So let's go ahead and do that. But if you notice, I have this tail here. So what I do is I take my middle finger and I hold that tail down while I'm doing the double crochets there. Just that first one to kind of get it out of the way. And then I chain 2, and then I do 1 double crochet, and then I go into the top of that first stitch, I drop a loop and I slip to close, and then I do 2 chains, cut off, pull the hook out, I do one of those numbers, and then I sew that in. Let me just go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is kind of where I held it down at. That can be trimmed off now. Just like that. And let's go ahead and sew in this end here. Whoops. Get in there. Okay, there we go. So I have the back of the work facing us. And so I'm just going to catch fibers as I go. Then I'm going to do a return pass, just like that. Then I'm going to trim it off. So this is what the back looks like. Let me back this up a little bit. There we go. So just imagine this being like 100 squares. So everything is connected as it should be. It's super nice. Piece of cake. Now, even though they're technically not connected, these will never come apart. If you followed the tutorial the way I've shown you how to do it, none of this will come apart. The double knots will hold its place. You don't have to sew that in. It's perfect. If you want to connect that for aesthetics, then you can go ahead and use your darning needle to sew matching color closer, but you don't need to do that. It works perfectly. Okay, so that, my friends, wraps up the tutorial. I taught you how to connect the solid granny squares. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please sound off in the comments. I'm very active in the comments. I read them. I respond to as many as I possibly can. I don't guarantee every single one, but I will try my best. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We like having all the people here. And then last but not least, please hit that notification bell to stay updated with everything regarding me and my channel. So that's all I have. Until the next one, guys, take care. Bye-bye.